We are podcasters trying to make the world a better place with podcast trailers. Hello, trailer heads. We are back. And who are we? I'm Tim Villegas, and she's Ariel Nissenblatt. Here on Trailer Park, the podcast trailer podcast, we bring you trailers of all shapes and sizes. Talk about what we liked and didn't like, and what the creators could do to improve them. Let's get right to it. Ariel's going to chime in later. The trailer you're about to hear is for Opportunity Divide, a 6-part series from Guild, sent to us by Heather Jenkins at Share Your Genius. I'll hit play on the trailer and tell you my thoughts on the other side.
Do you feel confident that you're engaging your workforce?
I am pretty much where I can be. I can't advance any further up.
After 8 months of working 16, 18 hours a day, not having days off, my wife encouraged me to make the tough decision to just quit altogether.
I started seeing people who have been working here for 15 years and they're still working the floor.
Employee engagement is slipping away. Unemployment rates are lower than ever before. Leaders like you are seeking answers about how to manage your workforce and create long-term value within your organization. And these
I've been working here for
my
15
wife
years and they're still working the floor. And I'm like,
are the conversations that we need to be having. Let's talk about how.
This is Opportunity Divide.
From Guild comes Opportunity Divide, a 6-part series exploring the future of work and leadership through the lens of America's workforce. Hosted by Rachel Romer.
We need to stop acting as though the frontline workforce just isn't motivated enough.
With special guest Adam Grant.
Where have I seen organizations try to prioritize not just the skills you bring to the table today, but your potential to learn tomorrow?
We're bringing together predominant voices like Daniel Pink.
I think it's a systematic problem. I think the systematic problem we have in this country is that talent is evenly distributed and opportunity is not.
Malcolm Gladwell.
I was a dishwasher.
Why have you been keeping this secret from me? All the time we've been friends.
What do you mean?
You were Goodwill Hunting, Malcolm.
Brene Brown.
To ask people to be vulnerable and brave in a system that rewards armor and requires it to be safe is a disaster.
And more to help us answer the most important leadership question of our generation. We rely on them. Can they rely on us?
I'm your host, Rachel Romer, CEO of Guild, with our special guest, Adam Grant. This is Opportunity Divide.
Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And to continue these important conversations, join us by clicking the link in the show notes.
Before I tell you what I thought of this trailer, did you know that you can send in your own trailer for us to check out and possibly be featured on the show? Go to trailerparkpodcast.crd.co to submit yours. Back to the trailer at hand. I thought this was a very effective trailer. It had all the elements that I like: a strong opening, multiple voices, compelling music, a straightforward explanation of the topic, and a call to action. What left me wondering, though, was at first listen to this trailer, I thought it was going to be a narrative series. And by narrative series, I mean like multiple storylines weaved into a narrative arc, especially since it's a limited run series with only 6 episodes. After further inspection, it's pretty much an interview podcast, which, of course, there's nothing wrong with that. With such powerhouse guests like Brene Brown, Malcolm Gladwell, and Adam Grant as a co-host, the series practically sells itself. But I still wish there was a little more clarity around that. Okay, Ariel's turn. What'd you think, Ariel?
Hi, Tim. Thank you for the handoff. And hello, trailer heads. Glad to be back for some trailer analysis. I was and remain intrigued by this trailer. What stands out to me from the jump is that it starts with a question and no music, and then slowly begins to answer that question and incorporate music. I thought that was a great way of keeping the listener's attention. I'm interested in this podcast for a number of reasons, but one of those reasons is the name of it, The Opportunity Divide. I wanted to find out what they meant by that. If I was somebody who was listening to this trailer without reading the description of the podcast, I'm wondering what opportunity it is that is divided. And I want to figure out how this podcast is going to attempt to bridge that divide. And I think the trailer does a good job introducing us to some of the conversations that are going to be happening around that topic. I thought that leaving those big names that are involved in this podcast to the end of the trailer was a little bit late. I would potentially like to hear those names up closer to the front of the trailer because I think they lend further legitimacy to this podcast. I am increasingly finding myself loving trailers that name the host or the reporter involved in the podcast. Towards the end of it, I think it adds a dramatic flair. After you give all the details, you say, I'm this person and I am hosting this podcast because of X, Y, and Z. Overall, really excited by this show. Thank you for submitting. And Tim, thank you for taking on this episode and giving me the opportunity to drop in. I will let you get back to it.
Thanks, Ariel. If you have thoughts about our thoughts, hit us up at hello@trailerparkpod.com. And thanks to the fine folks at OSHA and Fanlist for being our sponsors this season. OSHA is our podcast hosting service, and they can be yours too. Check them out at ausha.co. Also, check out Fanlist at fanlist.com and create a fan page for your podcast today. That's it for this episode of Trailer Park, the Podcast Trailer Podcast. I've been Tim Villegas. She's been Ariel Nissenblatt, and you've been amazing. Thanks for listening, and happy trails.